Hi guys, you won't believe what I have here. First of all, welcome to the Orchid Pergola. My name is Melissa and I love orchids. So I have bumped into the holy grail of tips and tricks and life lessons from long-time orchid growers. And guess what? I want to share them with you. So hang around. So hi guys, if you're new to my channel, I wanted to introduce myself again since it's a new year. Happy 2025. My name is Melissa. I'm a school teacher and I am super in love, head over heels with orchids. And I have been since not that long ago, since 2023, January actually, 2023. That's when my, I guess, infatuation started and I started learning about orchids. I started buying orchids and boom, you have an orchid pergola. I stopped counting at around 500 and it is insane. In a good way, of course. First of all, I always am looking online. I've read a few books. I'm looking online. I'm talking to growers. I'm talking to vendors, sellers, hybridizers, let's see, chemists, anybody who I can reach and trying to get information. But I bumped into on this online forum for the American Orchid Society, they were having a back and forth about what were the top tricks or the top lessons that longtime growers have learned. And I said, I gotta share this. This is awesome. So that's what we're gonna do here today. We're gonna talk about the tips and then I'm gonna have my input on what I've learned also. But I wanna share these with you because some of these were pretty good. Some of them I hadn't heard of before and some of them were things that I did learn myself. So anyways, feel free to leave in the comments what you want to share and maybe I can share your tips on my next video. So here we go. Let's see. So there, and I'm not going to share the names because I don't know, I want to keep that private, but I am going to share how long they've been growing orchids because I think that's important. So this woman, more than 20 years growing orchids. The first thing she says is don't believe everything you read on the internet. That's true. I've heard a lot, and not only everything you read, but everything you see. Sometimes you have growers that try to give you input and they say that never do this or always do this, and it's so different from environment to environment, from like this orchid pergola to maybe an orchid pergola in another neighborhood that's not even that far away, depending on how, you know, how it's facing and you know, if it gets good ventilation, if there's enough humidity. I mean, everything depends. So I think that's true. I agree. Don't believe everything you read or everything you see. So this other contributor said that she's been growing for 30 years and she learned the hard way. Isolate new plants from your collection for about a month. Okay. Yes, I am cringing. Why? Because I've heard this many times before and I have not taken that seriously, and I don't know why. The first thing I want to do is bring my new orchid babies in, repot them, which is another no-no, but we'll get to that one later. Repot them and then situate them amongst the family, and I know not a good thing. I know that one has to be true. You don't know what that plant is carrying. You don't know if that plant is virused. You don't know. I mean, and even a month later, you may not know that it's carrying a virus. Some people test them every time. I haven't bought any tests. I haven't gone that far. If I have some that look really fishy, I'll send my picture to the experts and ask them what they think. And I mean, if I really like the plant, I'll just keep the plant far away. Not in the orchid pergola, but maybe I'll move them out. Like I have some vandas that are in quarantine because they have the spots. So yeah, I'm not gonna throw them away. I haven't thrown one away unless it's like on its last. And actually I have one to show you. I don't know what happened. The rock got to it and it is on its way out, and I feel bad because I got it from a very special grower and I plan to make a visit to go back and see if I can get some more and maybe do a nursery tour, but that's later. Off topic, right guys? All right, the next tip comes from a grower. He's been growing over 35 years and he says whatever you do, do not overwater. That I have heard and I agree with. So orchid roots have the power to absorb, and then like cats would store in their pseudobulbs foul roots will look green and plumpy, so you know when they don't need water. But sometimes me, of course, I'm in this group of people who get a certain satisfaction from coming out and watering your plants. You feel like you're doing them good. But if you overwater them, you can cause root rot. So what are you gonna do? You've got to be very careful. I think I found a pretty good solution for me and like my cattleyas, for instance. I'll give you an example. So let's see. Let's say this one. And this one isn't exactly my whole tip, but having a clay pot for me works so good, so well. A clay pot works for me. A holy clay pot works even better. And then to put something like just lava rock would be perfect, because you can, that's gonna dry, that's not gonna hold water. Now this one, it's such a small pot with such big holes, I actually did put bark and some lava rock and some charcoal, but this is gonna dry up fairly quickly. And plus I just watered this a little while ago. I touched the pot and it feels cool to the touch. You know that this has some water still in it, but by tomorrow this is going to be dry. So for me, that fits my watering schedule, that fits my needs for how I want to take care of my plants. I know that I want to get out here every day. I mean, if I don't, then I would probably not have them in lava rock and clay. But this clay is going to pull moisture out. These holes are going to let air go through, and the lava rock is not going to hold on to moisture. So for me, this is a good, I don't want to say problem solver, because you still, like that one that's rotting as I speak is in clay, but different story, bigger pot, whatever, things can happen. But look, it has even nice new roots. I don't know if you could see in this angle, but there in the back it has some nice new root tips growing, and it really likes this. So most of my orchids in my orchid pergola and my environment really like this kind of setup. So you really have to think about that. You really got to think about how much you want to water. But let's save that for the watering video. Let's continue with the tips. 30 plus years, I used to take advice without knowing or asking details with a bucket of salt. Okay, so basically I'm taking this as, don't let everyone just give you advice and just take it without really knowing if they know what they're talking about. I get it, because there's been times I go to Home Depot or whatever, and then you bump into people and they'll tell you stuff like the most radical thing that I heard, which was, you can keep your orchid in regular potting soil. Yeah, obviously I didn't listen to that. But yeah, there's a lot of times you get advice from other growers that may work for them, but don't take everything you hear. Make sure you just do your own research. Okay, 30 years. My lesson learned is to know the needs of a particular orchid before adding it to your collection. Very smart. If I don't have the conditions that it needs, it won't be in my collection for too long. So basically, don't fall in love with a flower at the Tamiami Orchid Festival and bring her home not knowing what conditions that orchid likes. That's how I'm taking it. And that is so true and so hard, because sometimes you fall in love with a flower that's in bloom and beautiful, but you don't realize it's not gonna like to go to your home, it's not gonna like your conditions, and it's not gonna last for long. So why try with something that is not suited for your conditions? So that's something very important. I think that's important for everyone. I think don't fall in love with a flower. Do a little, Google is your best friend. Start Googling, and don't just Google whatever, just Google information. They have a lot of info sheets from the American Orchid Society. They have culture sheets on every single orchid you could possibly want to look up. So look it up, find it. I know somebody who printed them all and put them in a binder. How cool is that, to have a little binder of all the orchid culture sheets? My style, kind of orchid nerd. All right, let's keep going because we are going to get to the good ones. Okay, this one's been growing for 4 years, and she says don't overwater. They like air to the roots. Okay, so we know that, right? That one's an obvi. Yes, they like air to the roots, hence why they're epiphytes. They like to grow on trees. They don't like to be potted. That whole potting situation is because humans decided that they wanted to keep them. And some of them do really good potted, some of them do better mounted. So mounted is another, if you get your hands on good pieces of cork. They love it. They love it. They love it. They love it. Put them on here. If you can't water every day, you could put a little bit of moss if you like to add. But mounting and clay pots really, really help me with my overwatering issues, because I believe I do have issues that I want to come out here every day and water regardless of the weather. Sometimes it rained and I'm like, oh, come on, I wanted to do it, you know, like a kid. So anyway, this next one says that she's been growing orchids for 25 years, and I've learned not to listen to everyone. Mine bloom once a year for months at a time. I never fertilize. I use tap water, and most people stress over that. Okay, so I use hose water as well. I know some people that are using reverse osmosis or water that's distilled, or is it distilled, or I don't remember. But they measure the ppms with a TDS meter and all that. I have a TDS meter. I did it a couple times. My water, all I did was I learned that my water from my hose is fine. It doesn't have enough parts per million of anything that is gonna damage too much. It's really low. It's good where my area. I also don't have the water with that stains your orchid leaves a lot, so that's another, for me that's good, because I can't stand to see the dirty orchid leaves. I'm cleaning them often. Actually, every time I can, if I see them too dirty, I clean them like this. I can't deal with that. By the way, Hoya, I mean, guys, what do you guys think? I have 2 Hoyas or 3, and nothing, it doesn't grow. It doesn't grow. First of all, it turned red. So I'm guessing that's the anthocyanin that, you know, because of a lot of sun. Well, why doesn't it grow? Why doesn't it bloom? What is going on? It's been like 2 years, and that's still like that. Anyway, back to business. Another tip says, don't spontaneously buy an orchid because it looks pretty. Do your research. See if you can actually, okay. Yes, we know that one. Next one, I've been growing for 5 years. Biggest mistake is not to over pot. Well, I think I'm under potting. I honestly think that I'm under potting. I'm putting them in a pot that fits their root ball, which is what a lot of growers say. A pot that fits, and then it has a little bit of space for growth. And then some people say it's okay if you have in there, you know, media that drains a lot, maybe some styrofoam at the bottom. What do you guys think? I don't know. I mean, I love this look. Here's another one. I love this look. Now the pot is not too much bigger. She doesn't have that much space to grow. But I figure when she does, what I can do is I can double pot. Let me show you an example. I bought an orchid, a really nice one from RF Orchids, and it was already completely overflowing from its pot. And she said, the worker there said, oh no, maybe you could just drop her in a bigger pot if you want to not cut all the roots off. So that's what I did. So in here we have this beautiful RTH Golden Grail crossed with MCP Thomsoniana variety Aria. This is gorgeous, but the little pot that it came in it's eaten the pot. It has practically eaten the pot. I don't have the heart, or whatever you call it, to take her out of here. I think I'm just gonna drop her in here and let her go crazy, you know. That's another option that you can do. Then she'll be basically bare root after a while, because I don't even see much media left anyways. And she had told me after it blooms, then you can go ahead and do that. And it has some sheaths there with shadows, so I can't wait to see that. I'm definitely not gonna do anything until she blooms. But how many of you do that? Pot and pot. It works. All right, I'm back as my papers are flying away, which tells me I'm already on 14 minutes. I need to speed it up. I don't want to bore you guys. But anyways, best advice, learn from your orchids' origin story. When's their blooming cycle? Ramp up the light. Increase misting and watering. Misting. Okay, I've heard some people do a lot of like foliar feeding and misting, and I'm afraid because here in Miami, the humidity levels are really, really high, 80% and higher sometimes, all the time, all day long. So for me, misting is a no-go. I don't mist. I don't like to water the leaves. I try to not hit the leaves too much. I try to hit the root ball inside the pot, and that's for me has been, you know, a smarter thing because I can't, you know, bear to leave, or it's not worth it basically for me to water the leaves and then it gets water on it and it doesn't evaporate long enough or quick enough, and then what do I have? What do I have? Fungus. Nobody wants fungus. Nobody wants fungus. So yeah, I like to try to not mist. Not here. We have a lot of humidity. I don't need to mist. All right, too much humidity and watering them is not good. That was another guy. Okay. About 10 years growing. Biggest lesson, sometimes my house is not right for some orchids, and that's okay. Love them from afar. I love that. So in Miami, in South Florida, we have a couple botanical gardens that are beautiful. So maybe you don't have the conditions in your house to raise those plants to be healthy and happy. So go admire them in botanical gardens or watch them on YouTube. But yeah, if they're not fit for your conditions, don't go for it. All right, this guy has been growing for 10 to 15 years or so. Best lesson is each orchid has its own personality and doesn't align with what is said in books and the opinions of others. Each orchid you take care of gives you a personal experience with it. I love that. So basically, this is telling me that you need to pay attention to what the orchid tells you. If you see it healthy and growing roots and all that, maybe you're giving it the right care. If the orchid takes a turn for the worse, you try to change, and you kind of have to, guys, growing orchids is not just read the book and you know what to do. It's spending time. And I say that all the time. You got to come out and spend time and look at the orchids and see. And if it starts going badly, you need to make a decision to change something in the environment. Either it's too much water, not enough water. So I talked to a friend of mine about an orchid that looked kind of funny. And I said, oh my goodness, this one has a virus. This one has a virus. And he told me, no, that looks like thrip damage. And I'm like, so when it bloomed, I realized, okay, maybe it was thrips, and it gave me the idea of what to do with it. But yeah, you need to come out and watch. And if you don't have time to do that, it's not going to be a good growing experience. If you don't have time to really come spend time with the orchids and take a look at them and peel them and clean them and see what's there, it's really no point, because they can go south very quickly. All right, been growing 10 to 15 years. Best lesson, did that one, sorry. Next, 4 years, don't overwater. They're like, did that one. All right, 1 year. Okay, so this is someone like me. Learning every day but loving the challenge. Yes, I am too. Perfect. Next, to have a lot of patience, eventually they'll reward you with flowers. Yes, but that squirrel was coming this way. Don't you come over here. I'm busy. Didn't you see the owl? They're awful. Anyways, so yes, so here's the thing. Here's the thing that you have to also realize. Sometimes they bloom for survival. That was a hard lesson for me to learn. I remember there was a plant, I was like, but an orchid, one of my favorite phals, and I'm like, but it's blooming. It's fine. It's happy because it's blooming. Well, no, not necessarily. They bloom to be pollinated. They bloom to survive sometimes, and sometimes they're very unhappy, and it's like that last, white flag, help me, I'm gonna die. So you have to think it could be either or, not because they're happy, not all the time. Next one, life is too short. This is a good one. Replace sick plants with a healthy plant so you can enjoy your collection. The frustration of sick plants is not worth it. That one's hard, but that one is true. And I also talked about this with my friend Nelson. If there's a plant that's not doing well, why are you going to just push it and push it and push it? Maybe it's lived as long as it was meant to live. Like I have this one that I feel bad about it. I loved the flowers. This is called the Apricot Dior. Look at this mess. I've already cut 4 bulbs off of it because they were turning black. I already realized that the rest is also turning black. How did that happen? I don't know, because mainly it was in lava rock. It even had shards of clay, and it just didn't do well. I bought this May 2023. I bought this from Whimsy Orchids, and it did so well for such a long time. Then the rains came, but look at what happened. It looked like it was gonna bloom. This was probably the last ditch effort for this orchid to bloom, to try to get pollinated, to try to survive. But guess what? It didn't happen. And I'm hanging on to this. I don't know why I'm hanging on to it, like if some miracle is gonna happen. No. And not only that, just in case it has something wrong with it, you should also get rid of the pot. Like, I'm gonna get rid of it. I think I'm gonna say goodbye, Apricot Dior. I'm sorry, but it didn't happen. I need to be happy and celebrate the ones that are doing well. This one I have to let go. So that's a good lesson. I like that a lot. Growing orchids almost 40 years. Always segregate new orchids, no matter how good they look, no matter how good you think the vendor is. I agree with that one. I'm not doing it well. I agree. I can see how logical it is. I can see that it makes complete sense. You really don't know. Sometimes you can't see it with the naked eye, what's going on beneath and in between the crevices of the leaves and all that. You don't know. Yeah. So yes, you should separate it and give it time to, yes, I agree. Best lesson I've learned so far was that phalaenopsis is not my forte and full sun vandas are my best. That's fine. You learn what it is that you are capable of growing. Some people you can't do phals. I've heard a lot of people don't like phals. I love phals. I have phals all over inside my house. They're doing great. They're all blooming. All the phals outside of my house. I'll give you a little tour afterwards if you're interested. Do you remember the crate? What is that called? A pallet project that I had, and I just took random rescue phals and I put them on a pallet. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of them have spikes, and I have total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 3 don't. Those are good odds. And they have acclimated. They are, grabbing onto that old pallet. And even though the project doesn't, it's like, one of those that you do and you're like, my Vanda Tower, love it. Think it's beautiful. My compots with the dens, love them. This thing is kind of like I took a piece of trash and I tried to embellish it, and whatever. It's too late. They're already attached, so I'm gonna let them live. Anyways, let's see. Best lesson I've learned. Okay, next. Oh my goodness. Let's see. All right. Learned with my hubby and I, we're kind of Vanda killers. And Vandas that we still have are the Falcatas, Rhinanthras, Rhynchodenia. We grow them, the roots grow, but they never bloom. Okay, so this is a very personal one. I don't know if we can relate to that one. Let's move on. Best suggestion I've ever heard: water your plants weekly. I thought it was fertilize weekly. I do fertilize weekly. So I've been pretty consistent, and since I have a lot now, I have to kind of separate that into days. So like I'll take my pump, which has it's a 1 gallon sprayer. So let's say today I'm fertilizing the Vandas. I'll do the Vandas. Then on another day, I'll do all the ones I have on the Cattleya bleachers over there. Another one, I'll do all the mounts. So I'm kind of fertilizing almost every day, but it's little sections. So that's what works out for me, to come out and do little sections at a time. And then I know that they're all getting it. I don't try to do them all the same day. I can't. I don't have a good enough sprayer. Maybe that's a good tip that you guys can leave me. If you have a good tip about a sprayer, that maybe that the one that has batteries, because the one that I have, this one, I mean, it's okay, but I can't do them all in one day. And another day I have to do the ones that are like around the front of the house. So that's a whole other. Anyways, this This woman has been growing 6 years and she says patience is important. Yes, I agree, obviously. I hope you can see me because the sun is moving and I'm in the shade here, but if anything, I can brighten up in the editing. All right, this one has grown 8 years. Focus on the plant, keep the plant healthy, good roots. They will reward you fabulously with their blooms. And most of all, patience is the most important. Okay. Yeah, patience, but again, we also keep in mind that blooms aren't always rewards. I think sometimes they're, you know, a cry for help. Anyways, growing for 10 years, water in the sink every week for 15 minutes, mind flower. So who knows which one he's talking about? He's not saying, it sounds like he's talking about indoor phalaenopsis. I water in the sink. I don't even let them soak. I just run the water through them and then put them back on the windowsill when they're dry. And then I kind of have, I wouldn't say a draft, but it's like an airy kind of spot where they're at, and they dry. And I have to do it maybe less than, if I wait a week, they'll be dry. Completely dry. So every 5 days, I do that. All right, 8 years growing. Don't buy orchids that won't naturally grow in your environment. We got that one. I think we're getting almost to the end. Since I was a child, my mother had me take care of her collection. For a young age, he's 47 now. Loads of patience, study, and keen eye on nature's subtle design. Ooh, I wish we could elaborate on that and tell us exactly what he's talking about. All right, growing for 3 years. Sometimes they die, but keep learning. It gets better when the flower spikes appear. That's true. Sometimes they die. Yes. Over 40 years. Have way too many still, but love them all. Okay, that's nice. 15 years. Keep up with watering and fertilizer in a good routine. Good air to the roots. That's important. Good quality substrate and sphagnum. And over 150 plus species home growing. Okay, cool. I like that. Good quality substrate. That's important. Like for me, the ones that I have in Orchiata are doing great. They're doing great. The ones that I have in the bark that comes from the big box stores, some of them I've lost. So there's a difference in quality, I think. And also, if it's a plant that really kills the roots when you take it out of the pot, that's gonna be an issue when you have to repot, because that media is gonna break down faster than the Orchiata, and then you're going to mess with the roots, especially those bifoliate cattleyas that really get annoyed with you when you do that. So yeah, get a good mix. It's worth it in the end. That's what I think. Or go the economical way and get some lava rock. It's only $6 a bag, and that's inorganic. Go inorganic. I bought recently some there are these garden rocks, and I'm gonna try that and I'll let you know how it goes. But I think if the lava rock works, these garden rocks have to work also, and the garden rocks are smaller, or maybe a combination of two I can do. I'm gonna try that, because this bag was $3 for just regular rocks. And I know someone, what's his name, one of my favorites, Rick L, he grows in rocks and his plants are spectacular. So it has to work. Over 15 years, did that one. 20 years, and to me it's all big and interesting, beautiful experiments. Okay, so that tells me you gotta experiment. I think I agree with that. You gotta experiment. You gotta try different things. Yeah, try different things, try different media, try different, and you don't have to have all your plants in the same thing. It all depends on what they want. If they want to be, you know, a little bit more moist, then you can add stuff. Maybe the lava rock wouldn't be a good idea if they want to be more moist, like the oncidiums. So I have some oncidiums, and I am trying it to mix bark with, dare I say, moss. I'm trying, but I do see that my novelty phals have benefited from the spag moss. They were drying out way too quickly. They don't like that. They are summer blooming. They like the heat. They don't like being dried out, and I wasn't getting to them quickly enough. They were drying out every other day. So I had to put a layer of spag moss on the top, and they are doing very, very well. I even have my Phal Schilleriana in spike. That's so exciting to me. All right, this next one. Growing barely a year, but I already see the effects of not fertilizing. So fertilize. Okay, I haven't seen the effects of not fertilizing because I've always been fertilizing since I started. I know some people, I've seen some videos where they say, oh, well, they're going to bloom anyway, whether you fertilize or not. And some people say, no, you're going to see a big difference in the health of your orchid if you're feeding them versus you're not. And sometimes they have them on the trees and they don't realize, but they are getting nutrients that are coming down the trees, even if they're in a basket. But if it's raining on the trees and it's falling on your orchids, it's getting nutrients. So right here in the orchid pergola, they are not getting any nutrients from the plastic and the shade cloth. So I have to fertilize, and I do, and I'm pretty proud of myself that I've continued it regularly. And some people say, don't fertilize. I just read that. Don't fertilize when they're blooming. Why? They need to eat regardless. I do. I've heard that you can, and I heard that why not? The only ones not to do it to, I heard, were bubble philums and anosmums. Those are the ones that really don't like to be fed. You may water them if you're in a warm temperature, but don't feed them, whatever. That's why I don't have many of those, because the ones that want to be hands off, I can't handle. All right. In this little time, 7 years, I've learned that the more you tend to them, the faster you break off the buds you see finally developing. And then it becomes addictive because you want to make up for the one that you accidentally broke or died of an unknown cause all of a sudden. And then you still not know how you did it. Oh my goodness, this one is rambling. But don't do the ice cube thing anymore. But try to make some try making homemade concoctions from videos you watch. And you'll get your first wow. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, I can't agree with this one. So I talked to several people about this, and one of them is a scientist who works at a university or retired from university. He said, or maybe it was in one of his videos, he said that there are scientists there perfecting the orchid fertilizers and other fertilizers. Why are you going to go out there and take a piece of garlic? You're not a scientist. How do you know? I've seen so many videos that says this is the miracle cure, and then it has some kind of Photoshop picture with 20 spikes on a phalaenopsis and crazy roots that look like Medusa. I mean, come on. I don't think so. If they are perfected for you, why are you going to go out and try to reinvent the wheel when you don't know the formulations? You don't know. You don't have a lab. You're just going to go out and cut a piece of garlic. Like I heard that a lot of people, or I don't know a lot of people, but they take eggshells and they grind it up and they think, okay, calcium, but they don't realize that the orchids can't absorb that like that. They cannot be absorbed like that. They're wasting their time, and then in their brain they are giving the orchid calcium when in reality they're not. They're just putting garbage on the plant. So I don't know about that. Let me know if I'm wrong in the comments. And then that's the thing. Let's say you have done it and you have seen your orchids look good. That's not a proper experiment. How do you know that they wouldn't look good without the eggshells? I mean, where's the variables? I mean, is that true science, or is that just taking a guess? Who knows? Anyways, 38 years growing. Use quality water. Do your research. Never stop learning. You will lose plants, and sometimes it hurts, but that's how you learn. Keep a close eye on them. Oh my God, I agree with everything. And he has grown 38 years. So yes, keep a close eye, definitely. I think I'm getting to the end, but then I don't know where the first page went. So here we go. Try to understand the actual native environment that the orchid comes from. Okay, we learned that one. We know that one. Don't overwater them. We learned that one. Don't overwater. A lot of people say don't overwater. So for the newbies out there, when you see an orchid, let's say a phal, because newbies will probably have phals. If you have a phalaenopsis and you have the wrinkly, droopy, leathery leaves, you know that there's a problem with watering. Now, what the problem is that the roots, something wrong with the roots. It could be that the roots are so waterlogged, you've been overwatering, that the roots are rotting. Or it could be that the roots are damaged in some way. They're not absorbing the water, so it's not enough water getting into the plant. You don't really know, but it's always a problem with water. So once you realize with your environment what they want, then you can supposedly do a schedule. But it doesn't always work. You have to feel for the moisture. Get a moisture stick if you need to. Feel for the moisture. I love to have a lot of holes in my pots, so you can stick your finger and you can feel if it's cool to the touch, if it's wet, if it's mushy, like what's going on in there. Don't guess. And if you think there could be a little bit of moisture left, wait a day or two. Don't overwater, yes, but sometimes you don't even know if you're overwatering. So feel. That's another tip that I learned. Growing for 22 years, orchids do well when the roots do well. Many orchids do well in sphagnum moss or in peanuts or in clay pots with bark. charcoal, rocks, packing peanuts, anything. Okay, so what I got from this was when the roots are doing well, the orchids do well. Yes, I agree. Pay attention to the roots. Roots are life for the orchids. They need to have roots. Sometimes I've had an orchid and it has nothing left. They got water in the crown or somewhere in between the leaves. Then all the leaves turn yellow. Within a couple of days, they all fall off and you have a stump of nothing but a bunch of roots. And guess what it does? It reproduces, it clones itself. And then there's a little cakey growing. That can happen. So roots are more important even than the leaves sometimes. They can, the plant can make a new plant out of itself. But if you lose the root system, I don't think there's any going back to that, from that. 25 years, patience, orchids do as they please no matter how perfect we take care of them. Okay. 30 years plus. 2 words, air movement. Okay, I agree with this. I have 2 fans that are constantly going. I took this advice from, the sellers, Jim and I. So I went to a talk from Jim's wife, Milena, and she said the best thing you can do if you have like a little growing space, like I showed her pictures of my space, the best thing you can do is make sure that they have a lot of circulation, good airflow, because that's what they like, that's what they thrive off, that's what's going to dry them up, prevent root rot and everything. If there's anything you do, she says, get some fans. And she goes, and you don't have to go for the industrial, waterproof, $300 fans. No, you can go to, she told me just like this, you can go to Walmart and get the one that's $17 that's meant for a college dorm room. Put a couple in each corner and you'll be good to go. After a year or so, you're gonna have to replace them because they crap out after a year. But it's pretty cheap, $17 a year. And, or, times 2 or 3, depending on your space. And you're gonna feel a lot better when you see day and day after day with rain and rain, because I have a roof on this pergola, but it comes in through the side and the moisture and humidity in here is heavy. So the fungus is a problem when it's rainy season, but these fans help me keep all that at bay. So thank you for that tip. That's very important. Don't overwater. Water once a week and leave it alone. Growing 25 plus years. Okay. I don't know about that one. It depends. Like, again, it depends on what you have your plant in. If it's bare root, I'm not going to water once a week. If it's mounted, I'm not going to water only once a week. The Vandas need water every day. So, you know how I feel about that. Growing about 45 years. And no other comment. Okay. Next one. Don't overwater. Have patience. Okay, next one. 20 years. Don't overwater. Okay, we got it. We got this one. Next one. Growing as a teenager since 17 years old. That cut off. I hope there's the... Okay. I like plants as a kid, fascinated by them. 50 years now. My grandfather's taught me a lot. More than I've read in books. They're strange plants to me. Okay. Well, what did you learn? You got off topic, sir. Okay. Growing about 25 years. Don't give up. Okay, that's good. Yeah, don't give up. Growing since 2005. I still have my first purchase, Dendrobium no name, purchased at the fresh market. Oh, I have a fresh market around my corner. Main hardship is being overly anxious, hurrying to repot, and then if it should bloom, and being concerned that the orchid has to be repotted at a certain time. And if it's outside the perimeter, you messed up. Okay, I think what she means to say, don't repot before it's time. So for Cattleyas, what do we know? We know that they should have, their roots should be growing before you repot, especially if it's in the growing season. If it's not, then wait. So I think I'm learning the hard way with my 2 Cattleya maxima species that I got from Home Depot. They are doing nothing. They are sitting in there. They haven't even... I can move them around just like when I got them. I'm crossing my fingers that it didn't basically just almost kill 2 species wish list orchids that I was so happy to get. But I keep learning that lesson, and it doesn't filter in sometimes because immediately it's like I go repotting crazy. So I hope I can control myself in this new year. Okay, growing 5 years. I've had one orchid that has been a challenge for most of the time. And finally, I was losing hope, And this week it surprised me with a new spike. So my advice is more sun, less water, no ice cubes. Ice cubes? No, definitely no ice cubes. So my 2 cents about the ice cubes. Okay, this is what I think about ice cubes. And I'll tell you quickly because we're on 39 minutes and I didn't know I could talk so much. But guys, ice cubes. If you do with the ice cubes and your orchids are fine, I don't even know what to say about that. It's a miracle and you're blessed or whatever. But in reality, they don't get ice cubes when they're watered. I mean, the only analogy or kind of example I can give you, let's say you're running a marathon and you're really, really, really thirsty. Like, do you want someone to throw ice cubes at you? You think that's going to quench your thirst when you're really, really thirsty and you need water? No, I'd rather have a nice glass of water, okay? Not ice cubes thrown at me. So the same thing with the orchids. They're going to get water maybe on the top roots. Maybe the bottom doesn't get watered, so the bottom roots are going to be dry and they're going to die. Eventually, I don't think your orchid's going to survive. Now, I did hear something that if you're in Florida, those ice cubes are going to melt fairly quickly and it's going to get water and it's not going to be overwatered. So that's why it works for Florida. It may be. But bottom line, do the orchids like it? I really don't think so. There are no orchids in Antarctica, as so far as I've heard. They're in a lot of other places, some places that are getting cold weather, but they really don't, they don't get watered with ice cubes. I said it. That's it. Those of you that do the ice cubes, do as you wish. I'm not going to water with ice cubes ever because I think it's a gimmick and I'm not going to play into that because if I'm trying to mimic the natural environment, there is no place where it gets ice cubes thrown at it to hydrate. That's all I'm going to say. Let me know in the comments because I know there's some ice cube lovers out there. I'm not going to do it. Okay. Cater everything to your environment over the course of a year. Okay, not sure what that one means. 40 years amateur grower. I like that. For me, even before finishing the answer, that means that 40 years and he's still learning. I like that. Never use ice cubes to water, stupid. That's what he said. That's so funny. Okay. The next one says, growing 50 years. If you think you know how, you have no idea. Oh my gosh. Okay. I guess another one that you can say means to keep learning, that you always have something to learn. Any minute now, my children are going to come out. Even though I fed them, even though they're playing and having fun, they're going to wonder if I'm actually out here having fun. They're going to come out. That's what happens. Moms, you all know. All right, we're getting to the end. Don't be afraid to throw plants over the fence or into the trash. Don't try to save the dead ones. Move on. It's not worth it. It degrades the rest of your collection. Besides, you like orchids because your soul wants to see healthy plants with beautiful flowers, not crappy looking dead things. Yes. It's true. I mean, it's true. Sometimes you want to save them. You want to have the happy ending story. You want them to come back to life. And then sometimes you got to learn when to say goodbye. If it doesn't work, something's not working, something's not working. And it's true. You're going to come in here every day and you're going to see your pile of rescue orchids. I had that. I had a rescue foul table. And quite honestly, I saved most of them because that's all I had. But look at this. Look at this. This is what I come out here for. This is what I come out here for when they look good and healthy and blooming and gorgeous. I don't want to come out here to see, you know, root rot and fungus and thrip damage and whatever, you know. So yeah, sometimes it's better to let it go. I agree. All right, I think that's it. I think that's it. Okay, one more. Growing 60 years. 60 years? 60 years? Oh God, I wonder if I am going to grow past 5 years. No, I think I will. But 60 years? Listen to what they tell you. Happy roots, happy plants. Always enough air at the roots. Great sound advice. I agree. Growing off and on 30 years. Patience is key. Expect the unexpected. Growing 20 years, don't overwater. We've heard it. Growing 35 years, best advice, replicate to the best of your ability the conditions where the orchid grows. No ice cubes. or weird homemade potions. Yes, I agree. Don't try to be a scientist. Don't try to be Bill Nye, the science guy, and try to make it on your own. I mean, they perfected that already. Why are you... anyways. Ooh, 50 plus years. Grow those orchids that are suited to your growing environment. Don't pick orchids just based on how the flowers look. Okay, we heard it. We agree, right, guys? We agree. 35 years. Ice cubes are for drinks. We agree. 20 years. Don't overthink it. Less is more. I gotta try to follow that. I'm an overthinker. And I think this is this the last one? Join an orchid society. You get a lot of information. You get to talk to people with the same love for orchids as you have. You know what, guys? And I was going to tell you guys, I am going to join my local orchid society. I have two really close, but I think I'm going to take the one that meets on the day that I can meet, because there's one that meets on either Tuesday or Thursday, and those are the days I teach at my local gym, so I cannot join that society if it meets on the days that I work. So there's another society that'll meet probably on Monday or Wednesday night, so I think that's the one. And when that happens, I'll let you know. Maybe there's some people, some viewers out there that are part of that society, and I'd love to meet you and make friends, orchid friends. And yeah, I wrote out my check. I think things in that society are a little outdated. I tried to pay online, or PayPal or whatever it is, and there was no option for that. So I think it's just send a check in the mail. So anyways, seems fun. Anyways, maybe we can go back to the basics or whatever. Anyways, almost 20 years. It's the same advice that I give a person choosing a dog. Don't choose based on the looks. Choose based on the behavior and the breed and your ability to provide that situation in which that behavior is acceptable. Wow, I like that. That's very good. That's very good. I think we've got to the end. Oh, did I say this one? 10 years growing. Observation is key. Every day you learn something new to amaze you about the orchid world. Okay, observe and make mistakes. Keep on feeding and watering them, and then leave them alone. Don't throw your tags out. I don't. But sometimes they get lost. And sometimes you write it and then they erase. Tags are a mission. I saw someone who also has a channel. What's his name? Dave. Dave had some kind of fancy schmancy engraving machine where he buys a little metal, it looks like a dog tag, like from the military, kind of, but they're black, and then it engraves and it... What? Wow. Okay. Yeah, and then I looked up the machine. He sent me the link, or he sent the link, and I was like, yeah. I think I'll just take my pencil and write it in, because I just think that's money that can be spent to buy more orchids. So I'm not sure about that fancy machine, but that's a good idea, so you don't lose your tags. Know about your specific... okay. Don't plant vandas in the ground. I've been growing for 40 years. Okay, I won't. 10 years, best lesson. Clear pots, lots of drainage. Good quality bark and good fertilizer. Okay. Don't dote too much on their care. Many times you mean to do well, but you harm them instead. Okay. Don't believe it. Okay, we got to the beginning. So guys, what do you think about those tips? I think some of them are right on. They are spot on. They are perfect, and a lot of people need to hear it. I think the one that's going to resonate the most with me today is that I like that most of these growers that have been growing for a long time also think that observation is really important. I had some people ask me, what is it that you do? What do you do to have this? Well, yes, I'm in the buying mode, so I'm buying a lot of orchids lately. So it's not like I'm a magical worker. I have the Cattleya bleachers right over there, and none of them are in bloom right now. The ones that are in bloom, I put them here in the bloom show. I'm not a miracle worker. I don't have any secret formula. I just watch them every day. Every day I come out and I do a little something. You can't treat them all every day. Like today I saw one that wasn't doing well besides that one, so there's two. And I went and put her in the tree. I took her out of the pot. She wasn't even stuck to the pot anymore. I put her on the tree and I'm like, if you're gonna survive, survive. If not, bye-bye. But I moved her out of the orchid pergola because that's really important. I think you need to keep this space to be a positive growing space. I think the world needs more positivity. I think, you know, we need to try to not focus. I'm a true believer that if you focus on the bad, you're gonna see more bad. If you're gonna focus on the bad, you know, the bad things are gonna come at you. So you need to focus on the good. And every day, this is one of my resolutions, so to say, one of my goals or whatever. Every day, and I want you guys to try to do the same. I want you every day to go out and make sure that you point out or you take note of something that is good and wonderful and special and that makes you happy. And you need to be grateful for that. You need to say, oh, I'm so happy about this. And it could be a simple little moment where you have a really nice time, you know, making lunch for your family and they tell you how much they love it. Or, you know, just an incident that happened, your child went up to you, gave you a hug for no reason at all and said they really like you, or you're pretty mommy, or whatever it is. Any little thing that happens. Sometimes it doesn't even have to be that blatant. It could be you're sitting out enjoying the beautiful sunset and you need to have gratitude for that beautiful sunset. Whatever it is. But it makes such a difference if every day you go out and find, maybe you need more than one thing to focus on. Maybe you have a lot of things coming down at you. Maybe health is not happening. You know, maybe there are people in your family. But I promise you, the more that you look for the good and you're grateful for the good, the more good will come. It's that law of attracting good and positive vibes. It's important, and you need to actively search for the good. So please search for the good, make time for things you love, and I will see you on the next one. Don't forget to leave those comments. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and share this video if you have any friends that want to know these hot tips that I found out. And leave me in the comments which tip you think that is right on. Which one is a good one. If you think that there's one that's not, go ahead and tell me. That's okay. Let me know. Are you an ice cube person? I hope not. But if you are, you are. It's fine. So I'll catch you on the next one. Make time for things you love. Bye, guys.